Hi, welcome back to yet another episode of the Off-Plan Show. On this program, we have genuine conversations on money and investment in order for you to make the best investment decision out there. Now, today's episode is called Cryptocurrency and the Future of Money, and how that will affect the real estate industry and other assets as well. Now, my next guest, but right before we proceed, is a key opinion leader in the sector of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So without wasting any further time, let me introduce my next guest, Dennis.
Hello.
Hi, Dennis. Good to see you.
Likewise, a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, Dennis, cryptocurrency is a big word. Crypto. Everybody's talking about crypto. A lot of us don't understand it. Not just us, the investors as well. So what we want to understand today is what is cryptocurrency and what is the blockchain?
You mean Bitcoin first or blockchain later?
However you want to
Okay.
proceed, however you want to break it down.
Well, in very simple terms,
Yeah.
Cryptocurrency is essentially digital currency that uses cryptography for security purposes. It is decentralized, which means that it doesn't come under the scrutiny of any government organization or a central bank. So Bitcoin was the first and most well-known cryptocurrency. It was established in 2008 by a person or a group of people under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto.
Okay.
Yeah, this is in simple terms what is Bitcoin. And what Bitcoin can do, it's immense. Essentially, it facilitates peer-to-peer transactions
Okay.
from any corner of the world without the need for going through a central intermediary like a bank. Does that make sense? Do you understand it?
A little bit.
Okay.
But it's still a little bit complicated. We need to break it down further.
Okay.
Now, yesterday we had a guest on the show. He's a mortgage consultant.
Right.
And we spoke in depth about Bitcoin and what we thought would be the future. But I think it might need the advice from someone such as yourself.
Okay.
So what is blockchain and how does that tie up to Bitcoin? Why is the blockchain so necessary for the future of Bitcoin?
Okay, very simple. So essentially, the blockchain
Yeah.
is a ledger which is public, decentralized, where information is being stored. Do you get that? Do you understand that? Because it is decentralized and public, it allows for transparent, secure communication of information across the network.
Right.
So essentially, let me give you a simple example. You have a passport. You own a passport, right?
Right.
Right now, how do you verify if it is genuine or not?
Well, it's stamped. It has government, I assume, information there and my information as well.
Right. What about the forged passports? How do people still manage to travel from point A to point B using forged documents?
Maybe they're able to get into the systems and.
No, it's not. The chip that holds your information
Right. Yes.
on your passport
Yeah. Correct.
is only accessible to the country that issued the particular passport.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now imagine your passport is on the blockchain. Essentially, anyone can see this data, which makes it easy to verify it, anyone who has access to it. So for example, things like passports, which are very private informations, would only be on private blockchains, not on public blockchains. Which you understand?
Yeah.
So for example, let's say your passport is on a blockchain issued by the country that you're a part of.
Right.
They would share this information with other governments across the world, which would facilitate easy access to your information.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So anything could be put on the blockchain. Theoretically, anything.
So this, in a sense, provides its security. Yeah.
Of course.
Now, what's also interesting is to understand that there's only a limited number of Bitcoin.
Correct.
Is it 22 million or so?
21 million.
21 million.
Correct.
Now, why is that necessary? Why can't we have more cryptocurrency? Why can't we have more Bitcoin?
Okay.
Why is it just a finite number of 21 Bitcoin?
In very simple terms, it's because that's the way Satoshi programmed it to be.
And why is that useful?
The maximum number of Bitcoin is 21 million, which will be released by the year 2140. The main reason for this is to protect Bitcoin against inflation. In the case of central bank issued currencies, the government can at any time just print any number, which devalues the currency. In the case of Bitcoin, because of the limited supply, it serves as a hedge against inflation, because that's the maximum supply. You can't just print 22 million, 23 million, any number. It's essentially to protect itself from inflation.
Great. I'm happy that you mentioned inflation. But
Correct.
just before I say what's in my mind, I think we'll tie that to another question that I'll ask in the future.
Okay.
You mentioned banks and central banks and how they print money. Do you think that cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, will eventually replace the banking system and replace the dollar as the reserve currency in the world? Do you see that happening in our lifetime?
Well, this is a matter of debate. Look, there are many regulatory and legal concerns regarding the infrastructure of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin as a whole. Okay? On one hand, Bitcoin is an extremely volatile asset, but it has nothing to do with the volatility has nothing to do with or whether or not it would replace the dollar as a reserve currency. The main issues that arise here
Right.
is because of the fact that governments and central banks wouldn't want to relinquish control of the global monetary system
Right.
to a technology which is relatively new,
Right.
relatively untested, again, if you get my gist, such as Bitcoin. Because it's essentially relinquishing complete control of the global financial system.
Yeah.
And the global elite have built the present system over 200, 300 years.
Right.
Yes, Bitcoin does have a very important role to play in the future of finance and commerce. But in my personal opinion, it's highly unlikely that it's going to replace the dollar as a reserve currency in the foreseeable future.
So we could see a scenario where both these, uh, I don't know if I should call it store of values or, methods of transactions run side by side. Like we can have Bitcoin and we'll still have fiat currency like the dollar, or will that be replaced entirely, or the dollars will have to convert themselves into digital currency in the future?
Look, I think we can talk about this in more detail. It will take a lot of time.
Yeah.
So to directly answer your question, no, I don't think the dollar is going to stay as a reserve currency. We will have a change in our lifetime. It's not going to be the dollar. What currency is going to be the next? Well, only time will tell.
Right. At some points I might have to agree, but I think in other areas also more conversation would be needed there. Now, you did mention that having a finite number of 21 million Bitcoin
Correct.
is also a hedge against inflation.
Right.
But here's my next question. How will Bitcoin essentially behave with debt? Because part of the modern economy is debt. Everybody needs debt. The entire world runs on debt. So how will the modern economy, especially Bitcoin, behave with things like student loans, things like credit cards, things like mortgages, if we can be able to increase the number of Bitcoin, say it's finite. We need to be able to create debt. And I assume we can be able to lend multiple times on one Bitcoin.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I still don't understand how that will happen. So I'd like to know how Bitcoin will behave with debt in the future.
Well, you see, we are still in the very early stages of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin.
Yeah, I agree.
It's only been 14 years.
Yeah.
And if you look at the market, in the last cycle, which finished in 2021, less than 4% of the world were involved in crypto. Less than 4%, less than 4% of the world were involved in crypto. So if you want to put some numbers to it, that's what 8 billion, 10, 800 million, less than 400 million people. I would say around 200, 300 million people had crypto wallets. The time before, when I joined crypto, which was 2016, 2017,
Yeah.
there were less than 100 million people who had cryptocurrency wallets. It's grown substantially, but still we are at very, very early stages. But to answer, you understand that?
I agree completely. I think we could see some changes in the future that, might reshape the way Bitcoin interacts with debt, interacts with the economy. We can't know, but I think the industry has to get that right on the get-go.
Yeah, definitely. So, but to answer your question more about that, you see, Bitcoin is completely independent of any government control. And as such, it behaves differently to other assets which are linked to the central entities. Generally, look,
Because you get my point. If, startups, the way startups begin, they don't necessarily have that money with them.
correct.
Yeah, they either go through crowdfunding, either go through an investor, you know.
Seed investors, angel investors,
Yeah,
yes.
these kind of people. And perhaps you might find these investors also get the money from somewhere. So, in other words, the economy is just basically moving debt. So, I would like to understand further how,
No.
Bitcoin will behave in a certain scenario.
Look, let's talk about the present situation.
But in your position, I would say I do understand it is a very young.
No, let me talk about it. Look, right now, we have very high levels of debt, right?
Yes.
As you can see everywhere, people are losing faith in the traditional financial system. In times of unstable situations like which we are facing right now, with high levels of inflation, people historically tend to look at alternative sources of value.
Right.
Do you understand? And Bitcoin is an alternative source of value.
Right.
In a very stable economy, levels of debt are usually low.
Right.
And in such a case, people would not be moving towards an instrument like Bitcoin because they have what they're used to, what they have always believed in. In the case of mortgages, student loans, credit cards, etc.,
Yeah.
it in a way does not directly have an effect on Bitcoin. The only thing that comes to my mind right now, because as I said before, we are again in very early stages of a new market.
Yeah, because my only one is how will people get money? How will people? Because not all of us will have Bitcoin in the future.
All of us will. Even though there's a finite number, you don't need to own one Bitcoin. You can own fractions of it.
You see, if I needed to get access to money, I could get a credit. I could get a loan on, say, for example, to put up a down payment for my apartment.
Okay.
I don't necessarily have that money, So perhaps I might need to restructure this question properly. But I think you've already understood.
Yeah.
It might take a longer time than what we already have because we can only talk about this so much before we go to the next topic. But it's just how that will behave in the future.
It's
How will you get access to money you don't have?
okay. So I think this is more of a question not about Bitcoin, but about decentralized finance or DeFi.
Perhaps.
DeFi was just launched in 2018, so it's much even newer than Bitcoin. And look, till it's tested over an extended period of time, we can't really say how it's going to behave. I don't want to just come on your show and talk some nonsense.
Right.
But the reality is, no one knows.
Absolutely, I would agree with you on that one. Yeah, because there's still lots of changes, lots of improvement as well.
Yes.
So
No, on that note, let me talk to you about something. Not a lot of people are familiar with this, but there are DeFi loans. So, for example, you would go to a DeFi platform. Let's say you have $100,000 in cryptocurrency.
right,
For example, Bitcoin. You urgently need money, but you don't want to sell your Bitcoin.
yeah,
You essentially go, lock your Bitcoin there, and they give you 80% of the total value
yeah,
as an interest-free loan.
yeah. But that's against
So
fiat. That's against currency. That's
it's against USDT. USDT, which is a stable coin, not USD.
okay.
Do you understand? So, for example, let's say
That also ties up to yeah. So I think this question will lead us down to a rabbit hole.
of course, it's still the base. I mean, if you want to summarize it quickly, the answer is it's too early to tell.
Absolutely, I would agree. Now, I think you've seen on the news, it's been everywhere. The dollar has been, facing some problems, facing some issues.
Of course.
It's a rough time to hold dollars right now. But on the flip side, we're seeing the BRICS. See, Russia, China, South Africa, India, Brazil, and all these guys, and they come up and say, screw the dollar. We don't want to do with dollar no more. We want to create the BRICS coin backed by gold. Do you think, seeing how technology behaves, do you think a gold-backed cryptocurrency would do well?
Look,
Do you think this is something feasible? Will technology and gold really go hand in hand?
theoretically, yes. Why not?
That's theoretically.
Theoretically, why not?
Yeah.
The success of a gold-backed cryptocurrency would essentially come down to three factors.
Right.
Okay? One is trust in the custodians who would actually hold these physical reserves.
Yeah.
Yes. The second is technology that is used to monitor and report these reserves.
Okay.
Do you understand me?
Yeah,
You look
I
a
follow.
bit confused. That's
No,
why.
I follow. I follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the third is overall demand in the market for a gold-backed cryptocurrency. So to put it in simple terms, yes, if people understand that for X amount of a currency issued, it's backed by X percentage of gold, yes, it gives them some sense of security. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because they know. But at the same time, if trust is lost in the custodians, because this physical gold has to be stored somewhere,
Right.
right?
Correct.
If the custodians start shaving off gold
Right.
and a panic, it doesn't even have to happen. A rumor can just spread that it is not backed one-to-one by gold. People would lose trust and start to dump, which would eventually lead to a decline in price of gold.
I'd like to bring you back to 1971 when,
Nixon,
yeah,
right?
famously said we're going to remove the dollar from the gold standard.
Right.
That in itself changed the way finance and people had access to money, right? And it also, if you look at it properly, led to some rapid development as well. Because now you could be able to stimulate a certain area of the economy. You can be able to remove money from certain areas. Yeah. I would say technology advances way faster at an incredible rapid pace compared to how we can be able to process gold.
Right.
My only concern, the only question that's in the back of my mind is, will gold, if indeed is tied up to cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or the BRICS, will it slow down the development of certain areas and things like that? Because these, I feel like next year, the landscape of technology will be relatively different to last year.
Of course.
Yeah, it kind of doubles every 2 years. Now, will cryptocurrency being tied down, like the BRICS being tied down to a dollar, or excuse me, to the BRICS, will it slow down the way the industry develops, uh, the economy, how it grows,
Absolutely no.
things like that?
Absolutely no. BRICS is still just 5 countries. Technology. I mean,
Look at it if it was mass adopted, like if that became the new norm.
if what a gold-backed cryptocurrency
Yeah.
becomes a new norm.
Yes.
Look, to ensure mass adoption, it's going to take years and years and years. It's not going to happen in the blink of an eye. They've been talking about gold-backed cryptocurrencies for a very long time.
I remember. Yes.
It's not just BRICS. Many other people have tried to do it, but ultimately they couldn't capture
It's very hard to.
the interest of the masses. I mean, again, the idea of a gold-backed cryptocurrency is against what cryptocurrency was invented for.
Exactly. So, because at the end of the day, you will be giving, yeah, the value to somebody else to hold on your behalf.
It will be a custodial, and again, it's a government-issued coin. What's the difference in trusting a central bank or a government-issued coin? It's the same thing at the end of the day. Bitcoin was invented by Satoshi to start a new system of financial markets.
Right.
Do you understand? So the whole idea of
BRICS gold.
BRICS gold-backed cryptocurrency, no, it's not enticing.
Thought the same. Great. I'm happy that you mentioned about how cryptocurrency and the central banks behave. Now, it seems to me that the market of, or rather the sector, the industry itself of cryptocurrency is still too early, I understand. And it's also very volatile. We're seeing sharp highs, sharp lows. It seems to be rather unstable. How do you think Bitcoin will replace the central banks in the future? Will it just be able to do so? Imagine just waking up, you're a millionaire, go to bed, the following day, you're not. So how will they make that stable? How do you think Bitcoin will replace the central government?
Okay, there's a lot of ways to answer this question. No, I don't think Bitcoin is going to replace the banking system, but there will be a currency at some point which can potentially replace the traditional banking system. Let me explain this to you. Look, as I told you, the volatility of the cryptocurrency market at the moment
Right.
is only because it's a new market. As markets mature, they tend to be less volatile. Look at the stock markets, for example.
Right.
However, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies provide a lot of features. It's decentralized. It provides a safe, quick, cheap way to send funds from one person to another. Doesn't matter where in the world you are. Outside of any banking control or government control.
Yeah.
Also, at the same time, Bitcoin and these currencies give access to people where banks are underserving them or who have no credit score. Do you understand? All you need with cryptocurrency is a phone and internet connection. No documents are required. One of the first books that I read about cryptocurrency, it's called Understanding Bitcoin.
Right.
It spoke about how women in Afghanistan were able to receive help using Bitcoin. And this was way back in 2009, 2010, 2011. I suggest you read this book. Yes, the volatility exists, and as such, the banking system cannot rely on Bitcoin to replace it. However, there is something called stablecoins, USDT, USDC. Essentially, one USDT is $1. It's the digital equivalent of the dollar.
Yeah.
Such currencies are very, very, very stable and can be used to conduct cross-border transactions on a very large scale without the risk of volatility. So essentially, at some point in the future, it will be one of these stable coins that will replace the traditional banking system. I don't know if it's going to be USDT. Maybe it's going to be something that's pegged to the yuan or the pound or whatever the global reserve currency will be in the coming years.
Great. Now that's quite informative. Now we're seeing an incredible synergy between real estate and cryptocurrency. Yeah. I like to look at it this way. If you have Bitcoin and understanding that the market is very unstable, very volatile, you need to tie that down to real estate, which is, essentially very long term, it's been proven. So my next question here is, as an asset class, where do you stand? Do you think real estate is a better asset class, or do you think cryptocurrency seems to have an edge in terms of store value overall as an asset?
So in short terms, you're asking me if real estate or crypto is better.
Yeah.
Right, look.
That's a very hot seat there. You gotta be careful.
Look at this. Look at this.
Very tough. You want to take a moment to think about it?
It's all right. Look.
Yeah.
Look at this. I mean, comparing cryptocurrency to real estate is like comparing apples and oranges.
Okay.
They're
both fruits now.
Doesn't matter. They're fundamentally different asset classes with varying degrees of risk and appetite. Okay. So cryptocurrency, because of its highly volatile nature.
Yeah.
You get where I'm going?
Yeah.
Cryptocurrency, because of its highly volatile nature, is very attractive to high risk, high reward seeking investors. Whereas real estate, because of its ability, because it's tangible, because of its ability to return, to give back returns in the form of rental income and overall value appreciation over a long term, is attractive to a different class of investors. But at the end of the day, it's your personal risk appetite and choices that would make you differentiate between the two. Do you understand?
I follow. Yeah.
It's completely different assets.
Okay. I'm going to let you off on that one. Now, we're seeing the economy is seeing inflation. We're seeing increase in lending rates and so on. How do you think inflation will interact with cryptocurrency and also fiat money in fiat currency in the foreseeable future? In the short term, if you could give us a short term and long term answer.
So let's talk about fiat currency first. Inflation.
Yes.
Increases the cost of goods and services, thereby devaluing the currency.
Yeah.
All right. At that point, the government just puts on the money printer and goes. Brrr. We've seen this in 2020 and 2021. Yeah. We've seen this in 2020 and 2021. Did you actually know that the value of the US dollar declined by 98% in the last century? What you could buy for $1 in 1913 costs about $27 right now. That's what the US dollar went through. Okay? Now, you saw the pump of 2021 in the stock and crypto markets. Yeah?
Yeah.
The government issued stimulus checks.
Yeah.
Where do you think this money went into? Crypto. People.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Okay. So when the government issued stimulus checks, people understood that this $4,000 or $1,000 that they received, because of inflation, is going to reduce their purchasing power in general.
Yeah.
At that time, because of the instability and as seen with risky assets, when the economy is in turmoil, people tend to trust alternative sources such as Bitcoin as a better store of value.
Right. Yeah.
Again, how cryptocurrency, cryptocurrency behaves with inflation. It's simple. Bitcoin and a lot of other coins are deflationary, meaning they have a limited supply.
Okay.
Right? You can't print more Bitcoins out of thin air, so the value is always preserved. Any other cryptocurrency without a mint function, which has a maximum defined supply, again, is a good store of value.
But that will also lead me to another question.
Right.
Do you think that the economy will just do away with inflation? Do you think the future economy will have zero inflation?
See, our economy is fundamentally flawed, the way we are in right now. The way it's designed, it's impossible for our economy to have 0% inflation. But a little bit of inflation is not necessarily a bad thing. But it's about the levels that we reached in the current, in the last 6-7 months. What was the highest? 8.2, 9%. Some countries, let's take the example of Turkey, Lebanon, and Egypt.
Yeah.
Lebanon reached inflation to a point.
It's crazy what's going on there.
You follow
Yeah.
what's happening,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now you have capital controls. If you have money in a Lebanese bank, it tells you how much you can withdraw. It's your money. Why
Yeah.
would someone else, why should someone else be able to tell you what to do with your money? The same situation is happening in Turkey and Egypt. And Egypt, if you didn't know, is the most populous Arab country in the world. It has a population of 112 million. When I visited Egypt 4 years ago, a dollar was roughly 4 pounds, 4 Egyptian pounds. Right now, it's at 35. And even on 35, if you want to exchange your pounds for the dollar, you don't get dollars anymore. You understand? You need to go to black market dealers who sell you at a very hefty premium. So yes, the way the monetary system is designed, I don't think that we will ever get to zero inflation as things stand.
Yeah.
However, with cryptocurrency, you asked me what the future of cryptocurrency is, right?
Yeah. How cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, will behave with inflation in the future? Like because that leads up to two questions. If indeed there won't be any inflation,
Right.
then that means one thing. If there will be inflation still, then that means another.
Look, if there is inflation, which I think is the case, you could theoretically see, not theoretically, you could see Bitcoin going to one Bitcoin reaching $1 million before the year 2030. I think we are still in the hyperinflation scenario at play. I think what the central banks across the world will do right now is temporarily they've managed about a year of interest rates. They're going to ease, they're not going to raise the interest rates anymore. They're going to let the economy be. At some point, the recession is going to kick in, which will again reduce the effect. Once the recession kicks in, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. Also, you know how many banks went bankrupt? You will see in the next coming weeks. They're just waiting for the right time to announce it, just to dump the market and profit from it, as they usually do. Once we go back to a 2014 scenario, 2008, sorry.
Yeah.
At some point, they will just print the money printer, turn on the printers again, and cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are just going to go to the moon, because people, in terms of inflation, in terms of uncertainty, people flock to assets like Bitcoin. Because if there's no company for Bitcoin, no one can seize your Bitcoin. They can't tell you how to withdraw. Bitcoin can be bankrupt. This is essentially what I'm trying to say.
Right. Now, this is now our final questions. We're almost coming to the end.
Right.
What do you think is the future economy? How would you predict the future of the economy and how it will relate to Bitcoin? You know,
Look, I think we're going to have a hybrid model. Cash has always been prominent in the last couple of 100 years, 200, 300 years. So, in my opinion, there's going to be a lot of central bank issued digital currencies. I'm sure you heard about it in the coming days, in the coming weeks.
right?
I think the UAE has already said that they're going to launch out the e-dirham end of the year, end of 2023. They're trying to do away with cash, but it's not so easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think in the coming 10 years, there's going to be a lot more cryptocurrencies, a lot more stable coins, but we're still going to have a gradual shift from the traditional way of things to more of a digital world. I think it's going to be a gradual shift. It's not going to happen in 1 year. It's not going to happen in 2 years. It's not going to happen in 3 years. It's going to take at least 20 years for the shift to fully happen from fiat to crypto. Speaking of, I mentioned earlier in the last cycle, they were 4% of the world. The next cycle, which is 2024, 2025, I expect this figure to rise to 15%.
Okay.
Yeah, 15% of the world is going to be in crypto.
It's going to be a lot of people.
A lot more
Yeah.
people, yeah.
Just 15%. It also brings a worry that only a few people will have most of these assets with them.
Not necessarily. It's
Do you think that will be a concern for government entities in the future?
they're always going to be concerned about crypto, always, because it's outside of their control. It's something that they can't control. Yes, what did the governments do? They banned Bitcoin numerous times. What happened to Bitcoin? Nothing. But there is no way that they can gain control over the network. The only thing that they can do is try to arrest the holder of Bitcoin. But even then, they can't seize his assets. If it's stored safely.
Yeah, because in a sense, I mean, from someone, looking at from a different perspective from the outside might be concerned that there could be a huge divide between haves and have-nots. But this will be another topic that we can discuss on the episode. And it's been such an amazing time, such an amazing show having you here. We hope to see you again in the future.
Definitely.
Any parting shots before we leave? What would you like to think before we end the show?
Guys, look, crypto changed my life a few years ago, and it can change your life. The only important thing is that you take yourself time to educate on different protocols and be patient. That's it. Education and patience will get you a long way in crypto. Thank you, Kerry. Thank you for having me here.
And last question, do you own real estate?
In real estate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Absolutely. I can edit it there.
Thank you very much. Like,
Hey, Dennis,
hey,
how are you?
good. How are you?
Very good. So we're about to begin. How you feeling today?
Amazing. Thank you. Yourself?
Doing good. Thanks for asking. Thanks for coming on the show. Now,
Pleasure.
Dennis, who is Dennis?
Well, I'm me. I'm a trader. I am an investor. And yeah, that's me.
Okay. And what do you love about Dubai?
Well, a lot of things. The first and foremost thing is the safety. It's one of the only countries in the world where you have 100% safety record. Number 2 is the weather for most of the year. And 3 is that it's easy to get from Dubai to any part of the world on a short flight.
Okay. Next question is, are you a billionaire already through cryptocurrency? So that means yes?
Well,
we don't know.
It doesn't mean no or it doesn't mean yes, you never know.
All right. Your favorite food?
My favorite food, Asian.
Okay. Could you name one?
I love dim sums.
Okay. musician that you're listening to a lot right now? Who's your top 5? What's on your playlist right now?
Well, the music that's stuck in my head, thanks to you, is Bob Marley. Because when I came into your studio, there was a lot of Bob Marley songs.
Yeah, we love Bob Marley.
Top 5, I love The Weeknd.
Okay.
I love Travis Scott.
Okay.
Well, Bob Marley's already on the list, obviously.
All right.
Well, who else? I do love some Drake.
Okay.
And there's a Russian artist that I listen to sometimes. His name is Morgenstern, very famous. I love his music.
Great. Top 2 places for vacation.
Bali, Mauritius.
All right. How can people find you for advice and cryptocurrency transactions?
On my Instagram or Twitter, it's 91_JOSED, which is 91_Jose D.
Okay, great. Interesting about you and your biggest secret. What can you share?
What's interesting about me? Well, everything about me is interesting.
Touché.
Don't mean to brag, but my biggest secret, well, if I told you that, it wouldn't be a secret now, would it?
Oh shit, that's Batman. All right, okay. Last but not least, give us a one-liner, your biggest quote, something that can stay with us for until we meet again.
If you can imagine it, you can certainly achieve it.
Oh my gosh, we should just end it on there. Thanks a lot on coming to the show. It's been a pleasure seeing you.
Likewise, thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.